Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, much pleasure thou canst give me. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, much pleasure thou canst give me. How often has the Christmas tree afforded me the greatest glee? Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, much pleasure thou canst give me. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, thy candles shine so brightly. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, thy candles shine so brightly. From base to summit, clear and bright, there's always splendor for the sight. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, thy candles shine so brightly. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, how richly God has decked thee. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, how richly God has decked thee. Thou bidst us true and faithful be, and trust in God unchangingly. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, how richly God has decked thee.
Hey, Eric, Mike, you throwing it too hard.
So picking back up where I left off, the game plan for this weekend is to completely weld up the turbo exhaust manifold that leads to the inlet of the turbine housing. So as you can see down here, the pipe work has been fabricated. A pie cut 90 that swoops up into this Y merge. This leads over to the turbine housing, and we're going to go ahead through the process of welding up this whole assembly completely. As you can see, the straight gate is coming off here. This thing is looking like a beast, 50 millimeter. So let's get it done. Okay, I'm fuse welding this pipe in different locations all the way around, particularly where the pie cuts are at, just so that way the pipe is stable. I didn't want to start welding around in one location and pull this tight and it can pull it out of position, because I already have a nice fit on the car. So just different locations, as I stated, around before I actually purge it and then start welding around the tube itself. So for example, like this one, I may have like 4 tacks in position just to hold it up when I was actually placing for fitment on the car. And I'll do the same, just rotate around to different locations. So for example, I may tack weld here, jump to the opposite side, tack there, let it cool off, tack here, other corner, and just all the way around. And as well as over here, I started doing a little bit tacks on the flange itself. Keep it in position before I just go all the way around. On this particular pipe, I may end up welding around here on a complete section and then sand it back smooth, so that way it'll still look a little bit better on the outside, and I don't have to worry about trying to get down in that tight corner right there, which is a little tight. So I pretty much tack welded the pipe all around. Now I'm just prepping for purging. So tomorrow I'll start to purge and weld the pipes up all the way around. So it turned out pretty good. Pipe's still just a little bit warm. Tacked it all around in different locations. And my purge kit here, you can see this is the vent screen. And this is where my purge hose would feed into this. And I will push this through here so that way it can bleed and purge into here and vent out this side. So these are pretty nice purge setup that I bought, and we'll pick back up tomorrow.
to thinking of Coco, I would be okay. And that is before Coco passed away. So when Coco passed away, she was so sad. She called me every day.
Okay, the pot cuts turned out pretty good as far as the welding. And on the inside, I welded the flange to the pipework. So any little areas where it's a little bit too much material, I'll just go ahead and port match that. But it turned out pretty good. Pot cuts turned out pretty good. So just welded up the 3-point flange to the pipework. And any areas where there's a little too much material, I'll just port match it up, clean it up, and of course sand down the 3-point flange so everything is nice and flush, the bolt to the exhaust manifold. But it turned out pretty good. Definitely good heat penetration. Okay, I'm about to wrap it up for tonight. It's actually after 1:30 a.m. in the morning. So I just got finished welding up the primary feed inlet for the turbocharger. The wide merge that leads into the turbine housing. As you can see, we definitely got some heat penetration. So now I just have to go inside, port match it, clean up any little burrs or imperfections on the inside, and bolt it up to the car. So that's a wrap for the night. About to wrap it up for the night. As you can see, I have my primary turbine inlet pipe welded up. See, we got some pretty good heat penetration. Straight gate and everything heats up good. So I had to actually just tack weld in probably 1/2 inch to inch increments, so that way I didn't heat this ring up too much and expand it. So everything still seats up pretty good with the gate, as you can see, which is excellent. So that's it for the night. Next thing to do is go inside and clean up any type of burrs or imperfections, port match it, and bolt it up to the car. Finished welding up the pipe, and I installed the pipework last week, but I discovered a slight dilemma. So from the heat expansion, the pipe actually flexed up a little higher, and it's a small issue, but it actually moved up, as you can see, probably close to 7/16 of an inch. It definitely heated up. So there's a couple things we can do. We can raise the mount point and bring the turbo up higher, which I really do not want to. Or we can put this pipe in a 20-ton press and kind of press it back down into position a little bit. So we'll go with the 20-ton press. That'll at least alleviate me from having to cut it and re-weld it or raise it back up. So out of the 3 options, cut the pipe, reposition it, raise the turbo, or finagle it a little bit in the 20-ton press. The press would be the easiest method to go. Okay, I nailed it on the second attempt. First attempt, I just went down gradually, putting it in the 20-ton press, and slowly I put a flat plate under it and just slowly pushed down on the press, and that conformed the pipe to kind of roll itself back in position, because as you can see, that's a nice tight fit. Other 2V band clamps in position, and They came into position great. One hand in position. Once you clamp it up, there we go. Good to go. I have my turbo head and wad pipe bolted into position, so everything turned out fairly well. I had to put it in the press and kind of bend the pipe a little bit back into position. It expanded upward from all the welding. So that's probably for me putting a lot of heat in this area and caused the pipe to kind of fold up a little bit. So it kind of rolled up, probably like 7/16 of an inch, quite a bit. So, but it didn't take much to press it back down. I mean, it's stainless steel piping and it's kind of long. So once I put it in the 20-ton press, pressed it down, second attempt, we got it good. I didn't want to raise up the pedestal for the turbocharger, and I didn't want to cut the pipe and reposition it. So of course, pressing it down was of course the easiest and most feasible method. If raising this back up, I'm raising the turbo height back up, and that's taking it a little closer to the hood, and I want to keep everything as low as possible. Of course, trying to maintain somewhat of a low center of gravity, even though this bad boy's way up in the air. But we want to definitely keep everything beneath the hood line. If I wanted to go ultimate below the center of gravity, then of course I'll drop it down up under here, the front of the car. But that wouldn't be feasible for a road car on the street. Turbo's up here, less chance of water or something being absorbed in here. Like the typical low profile turbo that's way up under there, we can get splashed up quite a bit. So this is still pretty much in the same location that the original air box was located in this vehicle, and air would funnel itself through here and into the turbo. So you can see this side is closed off, and the provisions were for air inlet for the air box. So we're definitely going to have to get a little creative on the intake manifold. You can see right here, if we was to mount it in the original location for the ports, my injectors are blocked off from the plenum. So that's why when they fabricate a lot of these manifolds, the whole plenum is dropped a lot lower so that you have proper clearance for your injectors as well as your fuel rail. So this whole plenum needs to be dropped down a lot lower. Right now, we don't have much room. As you can see, we're up against the fan itself, and it's actually making contact with the radiator fan. I would face this plenum the opposite direction, just because my turbo compressor outlet is here. I would want to go down, go across the front of the car, and come back up into this side, so that way we don't have to do a dual flow. We just flow right through. So I would like to feed the inlet for the intake manifold on the passenger side, but as you can see, my ports aren't lining up properly because I'm up against here. So all of this would have to be cut out, as well as I would have to lean this forward and kind of drop it down to give clearance for my fuel rails up top. So this, all of this has to get notched out, and then try to drop it down and pull it over a little bit closer, so that way my ports are in line and this isn't offset back. Another issue I'm gonna have to contend with is 3 of my injector ports are being blocked off by the direct injectors, as you can see right here. So what I'm gonna have to do is notch out part of the factory casting on the cylinder head on these 3 injector ports and clock these counterclockwise in order to get this injector to swing out of the way, and we can get the other injectors for this fuel rail into position, because we definitely want to run our direct injectors plus our port fuel injector. I just received delivery from UPS, some more parts for the VR6 3.6 liter projects, or as some people will call it, the R36. So this item or items were from overseas. Had to pay custom fees to get it. And let's get it out of here so we can see what we have. O-rings. This would be a fill rail. These are the fill rail supports. And these two boots stuck in the bottom. Are VR6 R36 intake manifold flanges. And these bad boys are pretty. So it's just another second option for adding these to possibly our projects. This will save extra time and the tight confined space of welding little short runners in between the flanges. So by this being all one piece together, the primary focus is our intake plenum right on the front, which will save a lot of time and effort and tedious bends in our car being a transverse application. An inline application wouldn't be so bad. I mean, this would still be beautiful and a nice benefit for it, but we can go with the longer runners, have more space in between our intake manifold and our flange base that bolts to the cylinder head. But this gives us a nice tight confined option for our application for our TT and MK2 builds. Any type of VR6 engine inside a transverse engine compartment that has a tight space between the radiator and the front of the engine. Checking out some parts at the salvage yard. This intercooler on this bus is pretty nice. It's low profile, it's long. As you can see, it goes across the width, the whole front of the vehicle. With a nice size pipe and a nice size core. This is insane. I just lift this huge radiator out, which is probably about 3 times the size of me, out of this huge bus, just to get this top intercooler core. I don't even know if it's worth it. We'll see if this can potentially go in a future project, but this radiator is huge. It was mounted on each one of these blocks right here and dropped all the way down here at the bottom. So I had to lift it all the way up, kind of climb on top of the engine and brace my foot in between here because I was slipping on this, just to get it up and roll it out. But it appears it would have been easier to get out had the other bolts at the bottom right here, like it's got bolts holding the top, if that was just pushed in just to hold it in position. But apparently you have to take this whole bracket out, separate it, just to get to the opposite end, which is probably like this is probably threaded in, and separate that from this frame right here on both ends. A lot of work just to get this intercooler out. Just for perspective, this is a Volkswagen / Dodge Eurovan 2010, and the width of this intercooler is just about the width of the back of the van itself. So you can only imagine. Here's a Honda Civic for reference, and it will literally be the width of the car. Insane. I'm not sure, but it looked like this may have been a good call. I got this intercooler from off of a bus, and the temptation was to use it for my TT just for test purposes. It may flow pretty good. I mean, it's a nice design intercooler and off of a bus. Buses have a lot, they're stop and go. So it was a lot of heat that's built up, and it was a compound turbocharged diesel engine. So I would assume that this may be just a little efficient. Don't know until you airflow test it, but this is a huge intercooler. It has at least 3-inch piping. Look like 3 to 3.5 inch piping. I'll take a measurement. And look how it fits in front of the Audi TT. I was hoping it would be able to slide something tight up against the car like this behind the grille, have cut out for here for pipe work to come here, come up and return, and we have that room on each side. Come down off of the turbocharged compressor, come down around here, feed into it. So this looked like this may be a nice setup. It was one more intercooler there, and now that this fits pretty good, I am almost tempted to go back and get the second one. But that appears to be a very, very good call, where this fits pretty good, somewhat close to the front of the car, right in the position of the bumper. This is great. Turned out to be even better. 3.5 inch piping. Very nice. So I can run some pretty large size turbo piping into this, and this will be a nice test intercooler that'll probably flow pretty well on one of either and my Audi TT and my Audi S5 also. So I'm gonna pick up the second one now that it ended up turning out to be pretty good. It's another reference, and we'll end up testing it out to see how much horsepower this thing can hold, and also flow test it just to see the airflow itself. But I would assume it would flow pretty good with 3-inch pipe, 3.5 inch piping. We'll give it a test shot and see how this baby turns out.